Breaking news from the world of the gospel. Fans were shocked and in tears when beloved preacher and gospel legend John Pye experienced an unexpected medical issue during his performance. What actually took place on that platform? Was it anything far more serious, or was this a warning sign he disregarded? You won't be able to express what happened behind the scenes, so stay with me. A name that appeals to gospel music fans of all ages is John Peake. Known as the Prince of Gospel, his stirring ministry, memorable melodies, and powerful voice have inspired millions. But something startling and unexpected occurred during what was meant to be another inspiring night of worship. According to reports, the atmosphere changed abruptly halfway through his performance when Pastor Key started displaying indications of discomfort. Suddenly, fans who had come to sing, give thanks, and celebrate were in a panic, with many of them crying. The truth regarding John Peake's health, the events that transpired during that historic concert, and the emotional responses of his devoted fans will all be revealed in this video. We'll also look at how the gospel community has come together in support of him and what this moment means for his music ministry going forward. And believe me, as we delve deeper, you'll discover why this tale is much more than a single on-stage emergency. You won't want to miss the intimate information that have many people wondering, is Pastor Key's health more serious than we were led to believe? This is where things start to get interesting, so have a seat. It was meant to be one of those evenings that people would never forget. Thousands of gospel lovers gathered in an arena, their hearts joined in delight, their hands uplifted, their voices raised in worship. Pastor John Pye, who is renowned for his powerful stage presence, led the audience through some of his most well-loved songs. And the atmosphere was electrifying. To see him live, people had come from all over the state. The night was described by many as a once-in-a-lifetime event. Everything appeared to be ideal right from the beginning. Key connected with his audience right away when he walked onto the stage with his signature energy and smile. The audience's word-for-word singing and the sound of choir supporting him made the first moments enchanting. According to fans, it seemed to be a celebration of community and faith until everything abruptly changed. In the middle of a stirring performance, spectators saw Key's movements slow down. His voice, which was usually steady and forceful, faltered. Many initially assumed it was simply fatigue after giving his all on stage. But in a matter of seconds, it was obvious that something was off. He paused abruptly in the middle of the song, clutching his chest with a visibly uncomfortable expression on his face. Unaware of what was going on, the band continued to perform for a while. The music then ceased. As Key fought to stay upright, the auditorium erupted in gasps. Stage crew promptly signaled for medical assistance, and a number of background vocalists hurried to his side. Immediately, the praise-filled evening turned into a panic attack. The event was characterized as horrifying by fans in the audience. As the events unfolded, many people pulled out their phones in disbelief, while others were crying and shouting prayers out loud. Soon, videos and first-person stories will flood social media. However, none could predict what would happen next at that very moment. Medical staff and security officers hurried onto the stage. Key looked weak and exhausted, but he was cognizant when he was led to a chair. Despite the announcer's best efforts, there was no denying the anxiety in the crowd. While some supporters stood silently, holding hands in prayer, others claimed to hear others yelling, "Lord, please cover him." The concert was halted right away. Participants were asked to maintain their composure. However, there was a lot of emotion in the auditorium. People had gathered for inspiration and worship, but now they were seeing a well-known gospel leader deal with what appeared to be a life-threatening situation. Here's the startling bit though. Key's health was further called into doubt by what transpired in the moments following his backstage escort. Questions that persist to this day. Uncertainty pervaded the performance auditorium as John Pye was assisted backstage. It appeared to the crowd that he had suddenly collapsed. However, it was unclear exactly what was going on behind those curtains. According to those with knowledge of the occurrence, there was a frantic environment backstage as medical responders, staff, and relatives hurried to determine his health. According to one witness who was a member of the production team, Key seemed worn out and confused as soon as he was seated behind the stage. Staff promptly supplied water and medical equipment because he was perspiring a lot. Although it's still unclear if Key was taken to a hospital that same evening, paramedics were dispatched practically immediately. It is evident that there was a last-minute rush to stabilize him. Fans in the audience, however, had to wait silently. While some silently held their breath in anticipation of a news that Key was fine, others prayed out loud. Hours seemed to stretch into minutes. The tension seemed to rise with each moment without news. An event organizer eventually emerged to tell the audience that Key was receiving medical attention and that the concert could not go as scheduled. Reactions to this announcement were divided. Some audience members sobbed, heartbroken that their worship night had ended in such a startling manner. Others started to complain, not because the music was over, but rather because they thought something was being withheld from them. Almost immediately, social media was humming. Within minutes, fans trended Key's health-related tweets and live updates with hashtags. Videos of the event on stage began going viral, and thousands of worried fans from all over the world left comments. It served as a reminder to many of the significant influence Pastor Key has had over the years. The health of one man wasn't the only concern here. This was about a whole group of believers being completely upended. Fans, church leaders, and gospel musicians all started sharing supportive posts asking people to pray for him. It soon became evident that this was more than a personal problem. The gospel community was deeply affected by the public event. There were questions lurking behind the scenes. Was there a connection between this incident and an underlying medical condition? Was it a medical emergency that no one could have foreseen, or had Key been overstressing himself with his rigorous ministry and performing schedule? This is where the situation becomes even more fascinating. While some insiders maintain that Key appeared to be in perfect health, others assert that he had been exhibiting symptoms of exhaustion for weeks before to the performance. His team's absence of formal information merely served to feed rumors. Was he in worse shape than anyone was acknowledging? If so, what was the reason for not informing the public? Fans were on edge because of these unresolved questions. Everyone was curious as to whether the gospel legend's health was experiencing a minor scare or something more serious. This is where everyone was taken aback. The narrative took an even more dramatic turn when contradictory stories started to circulate within a day. The gospel community was tense in the hours after the concert. Clarity was what fans needed. Confusion, however, was what they received instead. Initially, a number of guests who shared on social media stated that Pastor John P. He had been sent to a local hospital by ambulance. Like wildfire, screenshots of purported eyewitness statements proliferate. He had collapsed, according to many, because of a cardiac problem. A second wave of rumors then surfaced, this time from individuals claiming to be connected to Key's team, indicating that he was stable, resting, and doing well. The issue was that there had been no formal announcement. Speculation intensified further in the absence of a direct statement from Key or his emissaries. "Pray for John P. Key and cover him in the name of Jesus," was one of the messages that church leaders and gospel musicians started posting on Twitter, which only served to heighten the perception that something significant had occurred. The lack of response from Key's staff was seen by some fans as evidence that his illness was worse than anyone was prepared to acknowledge. News organizations started to cover the story by the following morning. Key reportedly experienced what seemed to be a health scare during his performance, according to local media coverage of the incident. Even so, there weren't many specifics. Was it cardiac problems, fatigue, dehydration, or anything else? No one had the whole picture. Given that Key's health has previously raised concerns, this uncertainty was particularly disturbing for devoted supporters. The gospel legend has been open about his weight issues and the difficulties juggling a busy job with personal health over the years. Fans instantly brought up those past discussions, questioning whether years of pushing his body to its limits had led to this on-stage episode. Discussions got heated in Facebook communities devoted to gospel music. While some suggested that followers should just pray and respect Key's privacy, others maintained that people had a right to know the truth because Keyes is a well-known figure whose ministry affects millions of people. As rumors evolved into discussions on social media, the division only served to heighten the controversy around the narrative. The fact that some of the contradictory accounts presented wildly disparate images was even more intriguing. You made comforting assertions that Key was doing fine and only needed to take a break. However, concerning posts indicated that his health problem was still ongoing. According to one alleged source, physicians even suggested that he take a lengthy hiatus from performing altogether. The strain, however, definitely increased at this point. Supporters noticed that Key had stopped posting on his typically active social media accounts. Typically, Pastor Key is fast to provide his fans with updates, scripture, or words of encouragement. However, there was nothing following the occurrence. The rumors that were circulating were simply heightened by that silence. One urgent question emerged above all others as the gospel community attempted to make sense of it all. Pastor John Pye was forced to permanently leave the stage due to this health issue. The story was once again altered by a shocking update that surfaced just when it looked like the rumors could not get any louder. An update that has a direct bearing on Key's personal life and vocation. Fans were clamoring for any word from Pastor John Peakey or his staff as the rumors peaked. His official pages were silent for about 2 days. The news had already circulated well outside gospel circles by that point, and that silence grew louder than any rumors. The incident was covered by mainstream bloggers, several of which added their own twist. A few newspapers veered toward more dramatic titles that implied a near-death experience, while others stated Key had been hospitalized or was exhausted. After a crushing burden, Keith's ministry team finally spoke up. His official Instagram and Facebook profiles featured a well-crafted statement. On the surface, the message seemed comforting. Pastor John Pye had a minor health issue during his recent performance. He is currently receiving medical attention, resting, and in good spirits. We ask that you continue to keep him lifted in prayer as he focuses on his health and recovery. The gospel community responded immediately to the statement, but for many, the statement's ambiguity left more questions than answers. What was the minor health complication? Why didn't they specify what happened on stage? Why did he himself remain silent? Phrases like minor and good spirits seem to be intended to calm fans and dispel the darker rumors. "We're standing with you, Pastor Key, and God's not done with you yet," was one of the many messages that poured in from all over the world. However, buried in the comments were others calling for transparency, while others contended that the ambiguous wording only fueled speculation and further alarmed fans. A few gospel insiders added to the mystery by implying that he had received health warnings before the concert. One prominent choir director even wrote, "Sometimes God gives us signs to slow down before he sits us down." While Key was not named specifically, the timing of the post was enough to spark discussion. In the meantime, the news of Key's health scare became a focal point in churches nationwide, with congregations holding special prayers for him and gospel radio stations dedicating segments of their broadcast to encourage listeners to pray for him. Was this health scare something he could have avoided if he had taken earlier warnings seriously? But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Although Key's team presented the incident as a minor incident, there were rumors going around that doctors had advised him to drastically cut back on his travel and performance schedule. This was more than just a story. It became a movement of unity, with people from all denominations lifting his name in prayer. Fans were left to consider the difficult question of what gospel music would look like without John Peakey's commanding presence on stage. Could the man who had built decades of legacy, trained choirs, mentored young artists, and blessed countless lives really be nearing the end of his active career? Some even implied that retirement was being discussed in private, not because Key wanted to stop, but rather because his health might force him to. At the same time, supporters were processing the idea of Key stepping back when they received a personal message from the pastor. In a heartfelt video posted to his official social media pages, Pastor John P. Key finally broke his silence after days of anxious waiting. He looked calm but clearly reflective, and he began by thanking God, his medical team, and most importantly, his fans, for their unwavering love and prayers. The past few days have reminded me that life is fleeting, that we must respect the bodies God has given us, and that every moment on this earth is a gift. Your support means more than words can express, he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. I want to say that to all of you who have lifted me up in prayer. He did not go into full medical detail, but he assured fans that he was receiving excellent care and that he was following his doctor's instructions. He also addressed the incident directly in the message, stating that he had experienced a sudden health complication on stage and stressed the importance of slowing down, resting, and focusing on one's own well-being. Thousands of people commented with prayers, gratitude, and stories of how Keith's music had affected their lives. And video clips were shared on social media with hashtags trending nationwide. He shared lessons he hoped would encourage his followers to take their own health seriously. Some fans said the video made them cry, not only because they were worried about Keith, but also because hearing him speak in person confirmed the close bond he has with his audience. The video also served as a reminder of Keith's legacy in gospel music, which has been characterized over decades by his inspirational lyrics, powerful vocals, and mentoring of innumerable young artists. This incident, although concerning, demonstrated the extent of the gospel community's love and respect for Keith, demonstrating that he is more than just a performer. In the wake of the health scare, Keith's message was one of hope and perseverance, encouraging fans to continue praising, serving, and loving one another, reminding them that faith is not dependent on a single individual, but rather on the collective spirit of believers. He is a symbol of faith, resilience, and dedication to ministry. He smiled warmly as the video concluded, saying, "I am not done yet, but I am learning to honor the journey God has given me." His remarks struck a deep chord, providing encouragement that even if he may need to slow down, his influence and music will continue to inspire for years to come. I appreciate you being by my side the entire time. What can we learn from this story? First, even icons like John Pye are human. From a startling stage emergency to the personal reflections of one of gospel music's most adored figures, this story serves as a potent reminder of the frailty of life and the strength of community. Fans witness vulnerability, love, and resilience all at once. It is now up to the fans, the community, and everyone watching this story unfold to continue praying, supporting, and celebrating the legacy of Pastor John Pye. Second, the gospel community's response demonstrates how connected and supportive this network truly is. Third, it is a call to cherish every moment and value health, faith, and family. It is certain that his music, ministry, and influence are far from over, so let us honor him by not only caring about his health, but also by continuing to spread the messages he has shared through decades of gospel excellence, even though the specifics of this incident will continue to spark discussions.